She teleports into my bed without warning, without clothes. The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that made every small sound feel louder than it should. The man lived alone in a small apartment on the edge of the city. His life followed the same pattern every day. Work, dinner, silence, sleep. He was used to being alone. In some ways, he even preferred it. There were no surprises in his world, and he believed surprises only brought trouble. That night, he went to bed later than usual. His body was tired, but his mind refused to rest. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about nothing and everything at the same time. The room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of the streetlight outside his window. The air felt normal, safe, still. Then, without warning, the air changed. It was not a sound at first. It was a feeling like pressure, as if the room itself was holding its breath. His heart jumped. He sat up slightly, confused. Before he could speak or move, the space beside him shimmered, bending like heat over hot ground. In the next second, a body appeared. She landed on the bed with a soft thud, tangled in the sheets, breathing fast, her eyes closed. The man froze. His mind screamed that this could not be real. He was dreaming. He had to be dreaming. People did not appear out of thin air. This was impossible. But the bed dipped under her weight. The sheets were warm where she touched them. This was not a dream. He scrambled backward, almost falling off the bed. His heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. He did not look at her for long. Something about the situation made him instinctively turn his face away. He grabbed the blanket and gently covered her without touching her skin. His hands shook as he stood. Fear rushed through him, but it was mixed with something else. Concern. The woman stirred under the blanket, her brows pulling together as if she was trapped in a nightmare. A soft sound escaped her lips, not words, just a breath filled with panic. "Hey," he said quietly, his voice unsteady. "It's okay, you're safe." The words felt strange coming out of his mouth. He did not even know if they were true. She did not wake, but her breathing slowed a little. He stepped away and sat in the chair near the window, his back turned to her. His thoughts raced. Should he call someone? The police? A hospital, but something deep inside him resisted those ideas. Whoever she was, she looked scared, not dangerous. Minutes passed, maybe longer. Time felt stretched and unreal. Finally, he heard movement behind him. The blanket shifted. He kept his eyes on the wall. "Where?" a soft voice whispered. He swallowed. "You're in my apartment," he said gently. I turned away. "You're covered." There was silence, then a sharp inhale. He could almost feel her fear fill the room. "I didn't mean to," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "I didn't choose this place." "I know," he replied. "You don't have to explain right now." That seemed to surprise her. Slowly, she sat up. He could hear the fabric moving, the careful way she pulled the blanket closer around herself. "You're not angry?" she asked. He thought about the question. Angry, shocked, yes. Terrified, absolutely, but angry did not fit. "No," he said honestly, "just confused." She let out a small, broken laugh that sounded close to tears. "That makes two of us." He turned his head just enough to show he was listening but still avoided looking at her. "Are you hurt?" "No," she answered after a moment. "Just exhausted." She told him she could stand. He pointed toward the bathroom and explained where spare clothes were kept. He stayed seated, staring out the window, counting his breaths until he heard the bathroom door close. Only then did he let himself think. When she returned, dressed in clothes far too large for her, she looked smaller somehow. Fragile. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded in her lap, eyes downcast. "I'm sorry," she said again. "I never wanted to involve anyone." "It's okay," he repeated and meant it. "Can you tell me what happened?" She nodded slowly. Her words came carefully, as if she was afraid they might break. She explained that she was not from here. Her world was different, quieter in some ways, harsher in others. She had been born with an ability no one else had, the power to move instantly from one place to another. At first it was a gift. Then people learned what she could do. They wanted to use her. She talked about years of being watched, tested, ordered. She was never allowed to rest, never allowed to choose. That night she ran. She used a device meant to guide her teleportation, but it failed. Instead of taking her somewhere safe, it sent her here. "I didn't even know this world existed," she said softly. "I just wanted to disappear." The man listened without interrupting. Every part of her story sounded impossible, yet everything about her presence made it feel real. The fear in her eyes was not something that could be faked. "You could have left," she added, finally looking at him. "You could have shouted, called for help." He met her gaze then, really looked at her for the first time. There was no threat in her eyes, only exhaustion and disbelief. "I didn't want to scare you," he said. "You already looked terrified." Something changed in her expression. Her shoulders relaxed just a little. Her eyes shone, but she did not cry. "You're kind," she said quietly. He shook his head. "I'm just human." They sat in silence for a while. The tension in the room slowly faded, replaced by something calmer. He made her tea. She held the warm cup with both hands as if it were something precious. As the night deepened, her energy faded. She apologized again for staying. "You can rest," he told her. "I'll take the chair." She hesitated. "I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," he replied simply. She lay down, still fully covered, keeping a respectful distance. He sat nearby, watching the room, listening to her breathing even out as sleep finally claimed her. In the quiet, he realized something had shifted in his life. He had always believed nothing unexpected ever happened to people like him. Yet here she was, proof that the world was larger and stranger than he had imagined. And for the first time in a long time, he did not feel alone. As dawn crept through the window, painting the room in pale light, he stayed awake, guarding the fragile peace between them, unaware that this accidental meeting would change both their lives forever. Morning arrived quietly. Soft light slipped through the thin curtains and rested on the walls. The man had not slept much. He stayed in the chair all night, listening, thinking, watching the slow rise and fall of the woman's breathing. When the sun finally touched the room, he felt tired but calm. She woke slowly. At first she did not move. Then her eyes opened, wide with fear, as if she expected danger to rush in at any moment. When she saw the man sitting nearby, not too close, not staring, her shoulders relaxed. "You stayed," she said softly. "Yes," he replied. "I wanted to make sure you were okay." She sat up, pulling the blanket around herself. The clothes he had given her were folded neatly beside the bed. "I thought maybe I imagined everything," she said, "but I guess not." He gave a small smile. "No, you're still here." They shared a quiet moment. There was no rush, no pressure, just two strangers trying to understand a strange situation. He went to the kitchen and made a simple breakfast. When he placed the food on the table, she looked at it like it was something rare. "I can't remember the last time someone made food just for me," she admitted. "Eat," he said kindly. "You need strength." As she ate, she began to talk more freely. She told him her name and small pieces of her past. She spoke of places she had seen only for moments, jumping from one location to another, never staying long enough to feel safe. Her life had been movement without rest. "I don't know how to live without running," she said quietly. He listened. He did not try to fix her problems. He only listened, and that alone seemed to help. After breakfast, they examined the small device she carried. It was damaged, its surface cracked and dark. She explained how it was supposed to guide her jumps, keeping her safe. Without it, teleporting was dangerous. She could end up anywhere or nowhere. "So you can't leave yet," he said. She shook her head. "Not safely." He thought for a moment. His apartment was small, his life was simple, yet the idea of sending her away unprotected felt wrong. "You can stay," he said finally, "until we figure something out." Her eyes widened. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he answered. "You're scared and you deserve time." Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled. "Thank you." Days passed. They fell into a quiet routine. He went to work. She stayed inside, learning the rhythms of his world through books, screens, and careful questions. At night, they talked, not just about her past, but about his life too. He told her about his loneliness, about how he had always felt unseen. "You're not invisible," she said one evening. He laughed softly. "Most days it feels that way." "But I see you," she replied. Her words stayed with him. One night the air in the room shifted again, not as violently as before, but enough to make them both freeze. She grabbed his arm, fear flashing across her face. "It's them," she whispered. "They're searching." Panic filled the room. He guided her to sit and breathe, grounding her in the moment. Together they waited. The pressure faded slowly, leaving silence behind. "They didn't find me," she said after a while, "but they will keep trying." He knew then that this could not last forever. Keeping her hidden was only delaying the danger. They worked harder on the device. He helped in small ways, holding parts steady, offering ideas. Though he did not fully understand the technology, his patience made a difference. After many attempts, the device flickered to life. Her breath caught. "It might work," she said. The room filled with mixed emotions: relief, fear, sadness. "If it works," he asked carefully, "what will you do?" She looked at him, really looked at him. "I'll stop running. I'll find a place where no one owns me." He nodded. "That sounds right." The final test came late at night. She stood in the center of the room, the device glowing faintly in her hands. He stood a few steps away, his heart heavy. "You changed my life," she said. "You treated me like a person, not a power." "You reminded me that I matter," he replied. The air around her began to shimmer. She hesitated, then smiled. "This isn't goodbye," she said. "It's a promise." With a soft rush of air, she vanished. The apartment felt empty, too quiet. He sat on the bed, staring at the space where she had been. Days passed. Life returned to routine, but something inside him had changed. He was no longer afraid of the unknown. Weeks later, late at night, he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling as he once had. The room was silent. Then the air shifted, gently this time. He sat up. She appeared at the foot of the bed, fully steady, fully in control. She smiled, confident and free. "I chose to come back," she said. He smiled too, his heart finally at peace. This time it was not an accident. The room felt different now. When she appeared at the foot of the bed, there was no shockwave, no panic in her eyes. The air settled quickly, like it respected her presence this time. She stood straight, calm, steady, as if she belonged wherever she chose to be. The man sat up slowly, his heart racing, not with fear but with disbelief and relief. "You came back," he said. "Yes," she replied. Her voice was strong, clear. "Because I wanted to, not because I was running." She took a few steps forward. The device was no longer shaking in her hands. It rested quietly, almost asleep. She had mastered it. He stood, unsure what to do with his hands, his thoughts moving too fast. "Are you safe?" he asked. She nodded. "Safer than I've ever been." They sat at the small table just like before, but everything felt deeper now. She told him what happened after she left. She had traveled far to places no one controlled. She learned how to hide her signal, how to limit her jumps, how to rest. "For the first time," she said, "I slept without fear." He listened, proud in a way he did not fully understand. He had not saved her by fighting or planning. He had saved her by caring. "I kept thinking about this place," she continued, "not because it was safe, but because it was kind." Her words stayed in the air between them. Life did not change all at once after that night. It changed slowly. She did not stay every night. Sometimes she vanished for days, exploring, learning, but she always returned, always by choice. The man changed too. He smiled more. He spoke more at work. He stopped seeing himself as invisible. When people talked, he listened deeply, the way he had listened to her. One evening, as rain tapped softly against the window, she sat on the floor, watching the city lights. "Your world is strange," she said. "So many people, yet so much loneliness." He nodded. "We don't always know how to reach each other." She looked at him. "You reached me." There was a quiet understanding between them, no rushing, no promises spoken too early. But peace never lasts forever. One night the air trembled violently, not like before, stronger, sharper. She froze. "They found a way," she whispered. The room filled with pressure, lights flickering. She grabbed his hand, grounding herself. Her control wavered. "They're close," she said, "closer than ever." Fear returned, but this time he did not freeze. "What do we do?" he asked. She closed her eyes, focusing. "I can run, but they'll keep following." He took a breath. "Then don't run." She looked at him, confused. "Stand," he said. "You deserve that." The idea scared her more than running ever had, but she nodded. She adjusted the device not to escape but to anchor. The pressure built, then cracked like glass. Silence followed. "They felt me," she said, "but they didn't take me." Days later she made a decision. "I won't hide anymore," she told him, "but I won't fight either. I'll show them I'm not theirs." She began reaching out, not just jumping but speaking, leaving traces, letting others like her know they were not alone. Building something quiet, unseen, but strong. He supported her in every way he could. He learned about her world. She learned about his. They were equals now. One morning she smiled at him and said, "I want to stay longer this time." He smiled back. "I'd like that." The apartment was still small, the city still loud, but it was no longer empty. One night, as they sat together in silence, he realized something important. The miracle was not her power. The miracle was that two lonely lives had found each other. And neither was running anymore. The city woke slowly that morning. Traffic hummed below the apartment windows, and sunlight spilled across the floor in soft lines. The man stood near the window, holding a cup of tea, watching people hurry through their lives. For years he had been one of them, moving, working, surviving, but never truly feeling connected. Now things were different. She stood behind him, calm and thoughtful, her presence no longer strange or impossible. It felt natural, like she had always been meant to stand there. She was not hiding, she was not running, she was simply living. "Your world moves very fast," she said quietly. "It does," he replied. "Sometimes too fast," she smiled. "But you don't." He turned toward her, surprised. "Is that a bad thing?" "No," she said gently. "It's why I trust you." Trust. The word settled deep in his chest. Since deciding to stay longer, she had begun building a quiet life here. She learned how this world worked, not just its machines and rules, but its emotions. She watched how people smiled without meaning it, how they hid pain behind routine. She understood that this world, like hers, had its own kind of cages. Together, they created balance. She used her ability carefully now, not to escape but to help. Sometimes she would vanish for a short time and return with news, information, or resources that could protect others like her. She never acted alone. She planned, she thought, she chose. The man helped in his own way. He organized, recorded, remembered details she might miss. He became her anchor, her reminder of rest and patience. One evening she returned later than usual. Her expression was serious, her movements tense. "They're changing," she said. "The ones who hunted me, they're afraid now." "Of you?" he asked. "Of what I represent," she answered. "Freedom." Fear returned to his chest, but he did not let it control him. "Does that mean danger?" "Yes," she said honestly, "but also opportunity." They sat together, planning carefully. She did not want a war, she wanted choice. She wanted those who were born with abilities to decide their own futures. Days later, she made a decision that would change everything. "I need to reveal myself," she told him. "Not to everyone, but to the right people." His heart tightened. "That's risky." "I know," she said. "But hiding forever is another kind of prison." He nodded slowly. "Then don't do it alone." She looked at him, surprised. "You can't follow me where I'm going." "I don't need to," he said. "Just don't forget you can come back." Her eyes softened. "I won't." When she left this time, it was not sudden. It was planned, calm, and strong. The apartment felt quiet again, but not empty. He waited, not with fear, but with trust. Weeks passed. News traveled in strange ways. Rumors of someone appearing and disappearing, speaking with calm authority, refusing control. Whispers of others standing up, choosing freedom. No names, no faces, just change. Then one night she returned. She looked tired but peaceful. "It worked," she said softly. "Not perfectly, but enough." He smiled, relief washing over him. "You did it." "We did," she corrected. "You reminded me who I was." Life settled into something new, not perfect, not easy, but real. She stayed longer now. Sometimes days turned into weeks. They shared meals, conversations, quiet laughter. They did not rush into labels or promises. They let trust grow naturally. One night, sitting together under the dim light, she asked, "Are you afraid of me?" He thought carefully. "I was afraid of being alone," he said. "Not of you." She reached for his hand, a simple human gesture. "Then stay." He did. The world outside continued to change, slowly, quietly, choice by choice. And inside the small apartment, two lives remained connected, not by accident, not by fear, but by mutual respect. She no longer teleported into his bed without warning. She walked in through the door, and that made all the difference.